Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining on this M8 Discord meetup. So I just got back, I think Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday, from Superbooth. It was a lot of fun. It was good to meet some users and some people that's never heard of it. I did one interview that's on Sonic State. Just quick, overview of what M8 is, if you want to check that out. And yeah, it was extremely tiring. uh, we basically landed at the airport, drove to site, set up the booth, get to the Airbnb like at 10 or 11 at night, and that was without sleep. So the entire time that we were doing Superbooth is basically sleep deprived. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think I want to do it next year, but I figure probably bring a little bit more help so that way people can rotate out and show up a couple days early as opposed to the night before. So just to get that, I think from here it's like a 9-hour difference, so it's perfect enough to make it really make that jet lag pretty extreme. Starting this coming week, we'll be starting shipments on the pre-orders, the July batch pre-orders. So if you placed an order before April 1st, your unit should be shipping anywhere from next week to mid to late June. I'm going to try to get all of the units for that pre-order batch out before July. And it's basically, in order of when your order was placed. So if you placed it, chances are if you placed your order in January, you'll probably get it or it'll probably be shipped at the end of next week. And if you need me to hold your order because it is shipping out pretty early, just reach out to support@dirtywave.com and I will hold your order until you tell me when it's okay to ship it. Anyway, moving on. Let me share my screen. That one. There we go. All right. So I had a couple of small topics that I wanted to go over. We have some bundles as well that people shared for the meetup. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is starting a new song briefly, because someone mentioned, and I think it's important and it's valid, they mentioned that with the M8, you kind of go from the song to the chain to the phrase to then finally like design an instrument. You're basically putting in notes before you're even designing your instrument, which feels kind of backwards. But those of us that probably are used to stuff like M8 or LSDJ, normally what I do when I create a new project is I immediately create a new chain, a new phrase, and just throw in a note, and I don't even look at what the note is. And then I start diving in and working on the sound design. It's one of those things that I just do it so quickly now that I don't even think about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was at Superbooth, when I was sharing a table with another company, and they were playing like some sequence on Arturia Pro Step or whatever, with whatever synths they were jamming with. And I hate when there's multiple pieces of music going on that are at different tempos and different key signatures. It just drives me nuts. And our speakers were like right next to each other. So I just decided to jam along with whatever they were playing at the time. And I realized somebody once mentioned before as well that they prefer, if you've heard of Nanoloop, they prefer Nanoloop for doing a jamming type of thing, because the LSDJ style or M8 style doesn't really, it doesn't, you normally end up like creating a phrase and putting in some notes and hitting start and stop a bunch, and you're kind of building it in a different methodology, whereas something like Nanoloop, it's kind of always playing and you're just adding to it. And then I kind of realized that I could easily do that in M8. It's just you got to think about it a little bit differently. So say I have a basic instrument here that is macro synth with a volume envelope. Maybe throw a filter on there just to make it interesting. My volume's also pretty quiet on this guy, but maybe I could turn it up a little bit. No, give me 1 second. There we go, maybe. All right. So I'm gonna go into live mode instead of working in song mode for this. So that way, as I'm I don't know here. See. Terrible song. Let's just do this. There we go. So I would have this kind of this is already, like, say hypothetically there was other music playing, this is already in sync. I basically start the song already in sync with that person. Let's see. So if I have that going and I want to add another instrument, wow, that's terrible. But the key is just to work in live mode to build up a stack of instrumentation. This is getting really annoying, right? But I am making all these 4 phrases long, and then I have to kind of resync everything because all the playheads are offset. So what I'm gonna do is go back here, hold left and hit start to kind of force it all to be aligned. Is really annoying, so I'm going to turn that down. And you get the idea, though. You could basically keep a free running sequencer at all times. I want to enable a scale, so that way I don't have to worry about it. I'm putting this in C minor. So now I can do this. Let's see if this works. Nope. But I'm gonna another instrument here. Let's say drums, slice, yeah, GM kit. Mind you, this song is terrible, but I have to hit it on the one. I think it's this line here that's killing me right now. Let's do that. Now I'm gonna create that empty phrase. So I could just do that left and shift here to switch it to something else. But the idea was just that to use live mode to basically build out a structure and just keep the sequencer running the entire time, which is something I didn't really think about doing before. I don't know if it's completely obvious. It's a terrible song, I know. It's hard to like write things under the gun. So some of the other features I'm working on, to switch topics here, I'm working on another firmware update that fixes a couple bugs that people have pointed out, but I'm also working on improving certain things, and I don't know which of them I'm going to keep before before I release a beta. But one of them is when you save a song normally, it does a dropout and the audio drops out for a split second, but now it doesn't do that anymore, which is nice. Yeah. But the reason why I did that is because I started experimenting with a way to do quick save to the temp file that you don't know about. Basically on M8, when you turn it on and turn it off, it saves a temp file in the background, so that way it starts up where you left off. And I created a temporary shortcut, I don't know what the shortcuts should be, to basically save that temp file and then load that temp file at any point. So right now it's like the option button and the left and right arrow. It basically saves the entire song in the state that it's currently in. And why that's kind of useful is if you did MIDI mapping for live performance and you wanted to tweak everything out and make it all go crazy, you could then load that snapshot while the song is playing or save that snapshot while the song is playing. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to store the snapshot right now and then maybe make this all sound terrible. Or more terrible than it already does sound. And then to recall it, currently, it might change this. You hold down Edit and then hit those two keys at the same time. So it basically instantly recalls the last time you stored it. And that it's the entire song. So, you could basically go ham on the entire track and be able to recall it. Which also might be useful if you want to do something with your song in a compositional sense. You're not sure you want, if you want to change the instrument type or whatever, and you want to basically kind of quickly save your state without actually going in and naming your song and saving it. It might be useful for that kind of stuff too. The other thing is load the whole, like, this is so terrible. So I'm going to load a different song. But if the song used a bunch of samples and you were doing the queued load, which is basically loading a song while the current song is playing back, sometimes it might give a little audio hiccup. And I've been working on improving that as well. So I'm going to totally load something else here. Maybe something that uses more samples. This one. So it's a little bit snappier in terms of it doesn't, you know, I'm trying to get rid of some of the dropouts. Which is nice. As well, I'm doing like little tweaks to stuff like, so when you're fast switching instruments in a phrase, let me just, here, I'm gonna load a couple presets here. When you're fast switching instruments in a phrase and the instruments all have like different reverb volumes and all that kind of stuff, I'm basically trying to improve that back end so it doesn't, sometimes you'll hear like just a tiny fraction of a snippet of the last playing instrument in the reverb or the new trigger in the reverb and stuff like that. It's because, yeah, there's only one voice, so it has to quickly turn down the reverb if the next instrument that's playing doesn't have any. But if you turn it down too much, then it causes if you turn it down too quickly, it causes an audio artifact. So I'm just gonna, I've been trying to improve that whole back end stuff. So if I have, so this is a little bit better, but normally what would happen between these two drums here, one with a lot of reverb and one with nothing, normally it would be you would hear a snip in the reverb and you'd hear it kind of trail off. But now it's basically removed. So just little quality of life improvements. And this would be like 2.6.1 when I finally get it finished. Yeah, but that's it for, I guess, updates that I'm working on with the firmware that I want to talk about. There's other stuff in the pipeline, but that's kind of bigger version features. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. There's probably some other stuff that I've tweaked in here, and I don't remember off the top of my head. I do have it. Something else I'm experimenting with, actually, now I think about it, is the FM synth. One of these, like a nice kick. Yeah, so I think it's an FM. Yeah, no, that's the macro synth. Well, that's also valid here too. I think in the current version, the kick in the macro synth and FM kicks aren't that one. Let's use that one too. They're not as snappy as they could be. And I kind of improved that a little bit as well. On the FM instrument, you have to kind of set the phase for it to be a little snappier. But it's just the initial transients on certain types of instruments I am improving.
Is it like an exponential curve to the ADSR? Or, I'm sorry, the envelope?
No, so when you're fast switching instruments on a single voice, you kind of have to do a crossfade of sorts, so that way there's no hard clicky sound, you know, when it fast switches those instruments. And in that process, you could lose some transients on specific types of instruments, right? So say the macro synth bass drum has an initial click to it, and that kind of gets quieted out because it's being cross-faded with the previous instrument or the previous hit. And it's just improving that whole process, essentially. Just trying to get the most out of both not having clicky artifacts while also, you know, having transients in the synthesis. That could be a trade-off at times because of, you know, it's a mono voice, so I can't have two voices that just magically overlap.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, not the most exciting update, but, you know, just I think these incremental versions are just improving what's there. You know, while thinking about down the pipeline of things that might be possible to add that are much bigger. So version 3 will add 64 tracks and EQ. No, I'm kidding.
You got me.
I'm just waiting for the cloud integration. When's that happening?
I think I talked about this maybe not at the last live stream Discord where I streamed it to YouTube, or uploaded to YouTube, but I did talk about I wanted to make like something that would go well with M8. I mean, you're making that joke, but I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I could make a thing that does Bluetooth MIDI and, has Wi-Fi on it, so you could do stuff like the Ableton Link. But then when I was like looking for chips to try to start prototyping out ideas, I couldn't find anything. So I was like, I can't even prototype right now. I'm just gonna keep trying to fulfill orders at the moment, not worry about hardware updates.
Did you encounter anything at Superbooth that was like, hey, M8 could synergize really well with this in particular, or maybe these are some folks that might be worth, engaging a bit more or working with in the future, or any of that stuff?
The only stuff I did I didn't really get to see much because if I wanted to leave the booth, I already had an agenda of what I wanted to go do, and it was normally pretty brief. So I did go over and say hello to Polyend, and it was cool meeting the guys there. And then I also went over to the Teenage Engineering booth, just because I've worked with them before a long time ago at NAMM, so I thought it'd be cool to say hello. I also wanted to check out some of the stuff in real life. So I know they're super expensive, but man, those things are built like little tanks. I actually
want to share any thoughts on the TX6?
I held the mixer. I didn't actually get to use it because I was in a hurry, but I held it and then I looked at them. They didn't hear me, but I was like, you guys are assholes because there's no way I want to spend $1,200 on a mixer, but I really want this mixer. Just because it was so small and cute, and I like put it on top of one of the M8 travel cases, and I'm like, I bet I could fit this in the travel case with an M8. I'm like, that'd be pretty amazing. But yeah, it tempted me just holding on to it. And I tried turning the knobs with my fingers. It does demand like a certain technique, obviously, because the middle knobs are pretty close to each other. But I don't know. I really wanted that thing.
When you say the travel case, you mean the case that the M8 comes in?
Yeah. It's a little travel case for the M8, and it comes with that.
That's insanely small.
Yeah, and I just had it. I have a photo that I could probably share, but I took a photo of the M8 case with the mixer sitting on top of it, and the mixer is, you could probably fit 2 mixers in that bag. Yeah, it's remarkably small. And then the OP1 field, man, that thing was beautiful. There's no way I would ever spend that much on that sort of equipment, but I could see why, just build quality wise, it probably cost a fortune for them to manufacture it. So.
Did you get a sense of what those other companies were like? I'm sure they had some sort of awareness of you and what you're doing, and like how much it's like disrupting what they're doing, or if it's like, oh, this is cool. Like Tim is doing his own thing and excited to see what happens with that. Did you get a sense of like if you were, I guess,
right,
over time going to be more part of that whole like community of device makers? Or
well, I talked to Polyend just to meet them because we've talked to each other through mutual colleagues type of stuff, and they were super cool. But like on the customer side or the user side, it feels like these are competing products. But on the manufacturer side, it's like I think for the most part, these smaller companies just want to make really cool stuff that excites them. Whether or not somebody else makes a thing that excites them, or they make it. So it was pretty cool talking to them as well. Teenage Engineering, they were super supportive of M8 and what I was doing, and they were super jazzed about it, which was a little unexpected. Just because the level of quality that they do is just it's stuff that I could never make, especially at the quantities I'm dealing with. But yeah, but I
it's
think
good that it sounds like they're not like encroaching on whatever their like territory. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making too much of it.
No, yeah, I think I heard nothing but positivity from everybody.
Awesome.
And I don't. It's kind of like the TXX. I look at it like, oh, that'd be cool to work with two M8s with because it's got this and that and this and that, or the Polyen tracker. Like you could use that with an M8 just fine and kind of take advantage of both of those systems. All this stuff isn't really competing if you look at it like it's only competing if you can't afford like all the things you want. But otherwise, like they all have their advantages and disadvantages, and they could be utilized together if you want them to be or not. But yeah, all I got was positive comments from everybody, and yeah, still feel like somewhat of an outsider or a phony, but that's just the nature of doing a thing and knowing what you don't know.
Did you? This is a little in the weeds, but I was curious if while you were there, you met anybody that like was interested in collaborating potentially, any of the manufacturers or anything like that.
No comment.
All right.
Ooh.
No, nothing to get excited about, but yeah. There's potential like things in the horizon. I mean that's I went there specifically to meet other manufacturers. I did talk to a lot of cool distributors that were interested in localizing M8s for people there, which was cool, but I don't have stock right now, so it kind of seemed like I can't really help. I can't really build a relationship with those people. But I really wanted to talk to other manufacturers and kind of, hang out and get excited about making things. So,
or like, was there anything like about thinking about upscaling production potentially to take some of the labor off of your like manual stuff?
I don't think there were any like, what would you call that? Contract manufacturers there. I think NAM has more of that kind of stuff. As far as I'm aware, though, because I didn't really walk around. I didn't have an opportunity to. So I maybe I'm wrong. But, I mean, everybody's dealing with chip shortages. So even if I could outsource production, if I can't get the chips anywhere in the world, I can't get the chips. So I think at the rate that I'm going at right now is actually good. And there's, and I kind of feel prideful that, we're building stuff in Los Angeles. I think that's cool. And it's not something that is normal. I think there's definitely value in local production, It's just maybe I might be selling it a little too cheap if I wanted to go full local, just because it's so much more expensive. But yeah, it's actually something I keep forgetting to do with like the website or the product. Like, the assembly house was telling me the other day, they're like, you really need to say it's made in America because people really like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was going to say something about made in Los Angeles. I just never got around to it, But I also kind of feel like that's kind of lying because obviously like all products in the world today use stuff and components from everywhere around the world, you know. But it is assembled here, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Apple does the designed in like Cupertino or whatever, California,
Right.
but it's all manufactured in China.
Right.
You know?
Right. So, I mean, they couldn't even say assembled in California if they wanted to, right? They could only say the word design, I guess. But
Yeah, it's a point of pride, man.
yeah, with M8, everything is local assembly, including all the SMD parts, all the stuff on the circuit board. Everything's assembled here. This whole thing's a learning process for me, so, and probably exceedingly boring.
I find it fascinating, for one.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
You were speaking on the chat that you were working on like side chinning or something like that in the future
Yeah,
of the MA.
but yeah, that's just that's hearsay right now because I haven't given that any thought yet. So yeah,
I'm just glad you chatted with Sonic State about PWM. That's all I was hoping for.
I totally forgot that joke was made, and I'm like, wait, no, we totally laughed about PW. Does it have PWM? It's like such an inside joke almost, or whatever, like an inside meme with people that watch Sonic State. It's pretty funny. So moving on, maybe let's listen to some bundles. I don't know what order I should play these in, so I will choose from top to bottom, or else I'll forget which one I'm played. So this one's Noggin. I cannot pronounce that. Lathrin's edit.
Lather, rinse, repeat.
There you go.
Lather, rinse,
Repeat. Lather,
rinse,
repeat.
Lather,
Rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather,
rinse,
repeat.
lather,
Rinse, repeat. 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 Repeat.
repeat,
Repeat.
repeat,
Repeat. Repeat.
Don't panic.
Rinse, repeat. Lather,
rinse,
repeat.
lather,
Rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather,
rinse,
repeat.
lather,
Rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather,
rinse,
repeat.
repeat,
Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat.
lather,
Rinse,
repeat,
lather. Rinse, repeat. 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 Repeat.
repeat,
Repeat.
lather,
Rinse, repeat. Lather. Rinse, repeat. Lather,
rinse,
repeat.
lather,
Rinse, repeat. Repeat. Lather. Rinse,
repeat,
lather.
rinse,
Repeat. 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 Repeat.
It was great. That song was
Oh.
called Lathrin's Edit. Lather, rinse, repeat. Or lather, rinse it. All right.
Lather, rinse, repeat. Thank you very much. The idea just came to me in the shower one day. These songs write themselves sometimes.
This one's DJ DiskMachlne with 160 Auto Jungle. That was great.
Whoa.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a friend of mine. He sent me a half-finished beat, and I really liked it, so I decided to give it some mate flavor.
Awesome. I'm going to go probably backwards to Mikey. So the next one will be Soft Dargan, track 3. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, everybody. This next one's Disposable Planet with Internal or Internal Plus.
Crazy. Crazy. Crazy.
Crazy.
The psychiatric. The psychiatric. The psychiatric.
Time. The hidden, concealed, secret or unknown God.
not talking to us, but by means of us. Its narrative passes through us, and its sorrow infuses us irrationally. The mind is not talking to us, but by means of us. Its narrative passes through us, and its sorrow infuses us irrationally. The mind is not talking to us, but by means of us. Its narrative passes through us, and its sorrow infuses us irrationally. There is a speech of the irrational in the world of souls. In other words, the universe itself and the mind behind it is the same. Psychiatric.
Love the bass line on that one. Where are we at? It's the last track that was submitted this week. We should try to do this again. I would say maybe 2 weeks. I'll announce it, but I'm gonna be pretty slammed here with assembling units. So we'll see. This song, sorry, I forgot. This is Mikey 303 with Puncture. Wow.
Whoa.
Mikey, I didn't know you were so angry.
That bass is illegal.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I especially like the yoys. It's not complete without them. So yeah, there we go, everybody. Somebody did ask on Twitch. I think there was a question about having the cursor follow the playhead for recording MIDI, and the answer is you could just hit play as long as the cursor is on the note column. It'll insert where the playhead is. And you could pick your instrument if you want to by either setting I think the instrument change command, or just going to instrument and picking the instrument from there. So anyways, I'd like to thank everybody again for joining. It's super awesome that we're doing this, and I want to do it again. I will say 2 weeks. Just because I probably shouldn't have done it this week. I should probably have taken the weekend off, but I wanted to say hi to everybody and, you know, get back into the flow of doing these meetups because I think they're good. Especially, like, it's super rewarding, like, for me with all the work that this project or company or whatever you want to call it now has been, like, hearing what people are making on it. So for me, it's pretty special. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully I'll see you all in another 2 weeks. And for those, again, reiterating pre-orders, if you're waiting, if your order was placed before April 1st, you're part of the first batch. If it's after, you're part of the second. First batch starts to ship next week and should probably finish in June. And then the next batch after that is scheduled for September. I'm hoping sooner, but it's all about when I get some parts in. So we'll see. And thanks everybody again for submitting the tracks. If anybody has any tracks, feel free to message me when I announce the next meetup, and I'll include it. And if you have specifically something you want to talk about with your song, you're welcome to join in on chat and talk about it. For me to keep track of that is kind of difficult, so maybe just speak up if you're in chat when we do the stream. So yeah, all the tracks were excellent. All right, everybody, see you in a couple weeks.